our fabric is made from Eucalyptus Lyocell, which is very different than cotton, polyester, bamboo. It's somewhat similar to bamboo. They're cousins, actually. They're both cellulosic rayon. And what that means is that it's fabric from plants. So you basically take eucalyptus wood, you turn it into a pulp with a solvent called amine oxide. That dries out into a very soft, fibrous, fluffy fiber like a cotton. It looks almost exactly like cotton, actually. It's got a lower coefficient of friction than cotton. And then you weave that into a yarn, and it becomes a super fine fabric.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Colin McIntosh, founder and CEO of Sheets Giggles. Colin, how you doing today?
Doing great, and I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
My distinct pleasure. Appreciate you spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. I'm trying to say Sheets Giggles with a straight face, but I think your intent when you came up with the name was for everyone to smile when they even thought at all about your company. Mission accomplished.
That's the whole bit.
That's the whole bit. Hey, please tell us a little bit about yourself and about Sheets Giggles.
Sure. So Sheets Giggles is kind of my joke that came to life. That I thought of the brand name one day, and I was obsessed with the idea of building a really funny brand in a very boring space. And I thought that we could really differentiate ourselves really rapidly from the rest of the market. I founded the company 6 years ago now, after I got laid off at 1 p.m. on a Monday from my last job, which was also a consumer company. Didn't work out, that company, and I was very sad about the way things ended. And so I decided it was kind of now or never. I was 27 years old. I had not much money saved. I was either going to go get a job at a big company or start my own business. And I decided that it was the right time to start my own thing. And so I invested my life savings, did a crowdfunding campaign in May of 2018. We made $284,000 in pre-orders and shipped our first box 1 year after I founded the company in October 2018. Yada, yada, yada. 2 years later, November 2020, we had our first $1 million sales months. And it's been it's been a really incredible ride. I kind of always feel like I got a tiger by the tail.
You just said your first $1 million sales month.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've done that a few times since then. And it's pretty crazy to see. I mean, there's definitely moments where you pinch yourself, where you're like, this is odd. This is crazy. But, we've done sales days of over $500,000 in a day. Things like that, where it's like, and then those aren't usual, you know what I mean? Those are like our days that you remember. It's been quite the 5 years since, almost 5 years since we shipped our first box. And I think actually, today, what's today's date? 26th?
26th of September.
Today is the 6-year anniversary plus 1 day of when I got laid off from my last job. So it was funny. I got laid off on September 25th, and then a year later on September 24th, just less than 1 year, Denver Startup Week, I won first place in the pitch competition for Sheets Giggles. So it was a really cool 1 year come up.
Hey, I'm going to say that a $500,000 sales day goes a long way to soothe the pain and memory of a Monday afternoon firing, right?
Yeah, that still sucks though. When you think about even now, it's still so. I'm still good friends with my coworkers from that last company, and even now, sometimes we get together and we're like, man, we could have really had something there, but all roads lead to now, and good things came out of it.
Hey, that horrible day was probably the best thing that ever happened to you. It lit a fire that has the flame has grown, right?
No doubt.
Tell us about your products. What's so unique about Sheets Giggles?
So if you can, for those watching, on the wall behind me, we've got some of our eucalyptus sheets. So basically our fabric is made from eucalyptus lyocell, which is very different than cotton, polyester, bamboo. It's somewhat similar to bamboo. They're cousins, actually. They're both cellulosic rayon. And what that means is that it's fabric from plants. So You basically take eucalyptus wood, you turn it into a pulp with a solvent called amine oxide. That dries out into a very soft, fibrous, fluffy fiber like a cotton. It looks almost exactly like cotton, actually. It's got a lower coefficient of friction than cotton. And then you weave that into a yarn, and it becomes a super fine fabric. And so basically our eucalyptus lyocell sheeting has lower surface friction, so it's smoother to the touch than cotton. It uses 96% less water. It uses 30% less energy, no insecticides, no pesticides. Cotton uses a massive amount of insecticides, especially the neonicotinoids that are killing bird and bee populations. And our fabric's also temperature regulating. And that has been, in every survey we've ever done, it has been the #1 thing that people say the reason why they bought our product and the reason why they love our product is the temperature regulation and the cooling factors of the sheets. So for most people, temperature regulation means cooling because most people are hot sleepers. We drink alcohol, we eat meat, we try to conserve energy, we keep the thermostat a little bit up. We, maybe we're men run hot at night, that sort of thing. But for a lot of people, the reason they sleep hot at night is because they're sleeping in polyester sheeting. If you bought those $20 microfiber sheets off Amazon, that's just petrochemical based plastics. And it's super soft, it's synthetic. And so it's soft to the touch, but you are going to be sweating like crazy at night in polyester microfiber sheets. So I try to tell people that if you're not sleeping through the night, if you're waking up in a pool of sweat, if you're waking up and adjusting the thermostat because you're too hot, it's probably the sheets that you're in, or it could be the foam mattress that's underneath you, which also has a really high heat retention. And we do our own mattress now as well. So shameless plug for our latex hybrid mattress.
You threw a number out there that is ringing in my ears. It is 96% water consumption in
versus cotton. Yeah, versus
cotton.
So a single set of cotton sheets can use about 4,000 liters of water. Yeah, it's crazy. A single t-shirt, t-shirts can use, I think, sometimes up to 1,000 liters of water for like a t-shirt, 500 liters of water usually. For cotton, it's an incredibly water intensive crop. The other thing about cotton is that to turn it into fabric, you also have to run water over the lines in the factories. So there's a lot of water waste in the factories. Some factories have filtration systems. They can capture the water and reuse it. But a lot is wasted as well. And so our set of sheets uses about 160 liters of water. So it's very, very different versus cotton's water consumption.
That's awesome. The idea that A, it's a great product, but that B, it truly is leaving a better footprint for the planet is fabulous.
Way lower footprint. Yeah. And the amine oxide solvent, I think so with bamboo viscose, which is like the first version of this type of cellulosic rayon, they use a solvent called carbon disulfide. And so when you see bamboo, it's all carbon disulfide made, and that is not a sustainable chemical. In fact, it's harmful to workers, it's harmful to environments, has to be disposed of, and it can't be reused. So you get kind of one use out of it and you have to dump it. And then a lot of factories, dumping it is not done in a responsible way. With us, with the amine oxide, it's a different type of solvent, and it can be recaptured and reused in a lyocell process in a closed loop system. So you're recapturing about 99.5% of that chemical in every batch. And it's also not harmful to workers. It's not harmful to the environment. So if anything does run off, although we do zero runoff, ZDHC certified, then you can be really confident that our fabric is really about as sustainable as it gets. The only thing I would say is maybe more sustainable would be hemp. But hemp is not suitable for bed sheets, just not soft enough. But one day I would love to do a product out of hemp, at least not soft enough for my taste. Some people use it. I think that I'll take the slight trade-off to have something that is exponentially better to sleep on for your sleep quality.
That's excellent. And are you exclusively selling to consumers in any commercial applications of your products?
Oh, we've done plenty of B2B stuff. So I can't say the company, but we make the sheeting for a really well-known mattress company that didn't have a good proficiency in sheeting. So they came to us to ask us if we could help them. And so we make the sheeting for them. We make sheeting for a number of small hotels, boutiques, like, boutique hotels for Airbnbs, for bed and breakfasts. So we have a lot of clients in that arena. We also have maybe about 24 mom and pop retailers that sell our products. We're trying to grow that channel, although that channel can be a little more trouble than it's worth sometimes with how fragmented it is. But we don't do any big box retail or anything like that. No. So about 99% of our business is direct to consumer, I'd say.
Gotcha. You've already rattled off, I don't know, 20 things that differentiate you in the market, but for Sheets and Giggles, tell me what does make you stand out among your competition?
Well, when I was launching the business, generally when you're launching a new company or a new brand, I think you need 3 major points of differentiation. And so I just, you look at the market for bed sheets, and it's like 60% polyester, 30% cotton, and about 10% everything else. And that includes bamboo and silk and, yada, yada, yada. And when you look at 60% polyester, I mean, you're like, it's so dominant because it's so cheap. I mean, oil subsidized, which makes plastic subsidized. They figured out how to turn, petrochemicals into synthetic fiber, into sheeting. So there's a really big chunk of the market that I'm really trying to convince to just like stop sleeping on plastic. It's so bad for you. So from a health perspective, there's a major benefit to stopping sleeping on polyester. Polyester off gases microplastics. It sheds microplastics in the waterways, the number one source of microplastics in our waterways. We're now eating a credit card's worth of microplastic, eating or drinking a credit card's worth of microplastic every week as human beings in our food and in our water. So I really urge people to stop sleeping in polyester. Number 2 is the temperature regulation. That's a massive difference to both cotton and polyester. You're going to be much cooler, much lower body temperature, much less heat retained in our fabric and in our mattress, in our pillow as well. And then the third major benefit, in my opinion, is the hand. So it's what the hand is, how smooth it is. Mm-hmm. You really haven't felt something like this. A lot of people compare it to silk. I think it's actually, I would say, better than silk in terms of for people with sensitive skin, people with contact dermatitis, eczema, other conditions where they can't sleep soundly through the night because of irritation. Our sheets are dermatologist recommended for sensitive skin and hair, acne, different things like that. So that's really the third benefit, is that hand. And then there's a few more. But then I'll just list the sustainability as sort of the fourth piece that we kind of wrap it all in, is you can get this wonderful product without creating a negative footprint. And I think that's a really nice draw as well, where you don't really have to sacrifice. In fact, you're improving your sleep quality while reducing water consumption, insecticide consumption, energy consumption, and microplastics in our ecosystem.
Would you like my credit card information now?
Yeah, sure. I wish I could give this personal pitch to everyone who asks. We got to get that across in 20 words on the website. You know what I mean? So,
well, hey, look, we have to engage and educate people. You have opened my eyes broadly to a subject that I was unfamiliar. I'm a middle-aged guy who runs hot at night, and I'm not on polyester sheets. So, what role has content played in the growth of Sheets and Giggles? I know you are a punster. I tip my cat to you. My cat? I tip my cap to you.
Yeah,
with an unintentional one there.
That's a great tagline for like a pet food company. Like,
I tip my cat to you.
we tip our cat, or something like. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Tip of the cat. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, copy is everything. I've always, there's like a phrase, this is everything is copy. And I believe that to be true. Like, I think that Americans get a bad rap for their reading comprehension or their reading retention. I think it's more of like an interest fatigue. I think it's really hard to remain interested in things for very long. We're all dopamine seeking all the time now. It's really not good for society in general. But we will read things that we enjoy, and we have long attention spans for things that are driving that dopamine process. So for me, copy is just a way to engage with someone. You're speaking to them, right? And they can speak back. They can speak back by writing an email to us, by tweeting at us, by posting about us, by buying our product and engaging with us in that way. But copy is really, I think that people try to use copy to like sell things, obviously, but for me, copy is about having conversation with the reader. If you forget that you're conversing with someone, you can write really boring, stale, or banal copy. But for me, when I know that I'm actually talking to someone, I try to approach it in the same way I would a conversation with a person.
Well, I think your audience appreciates it, as evidenced by the success of your business. Tell me about the COVID years. I mean, I'm hoping that as people spent more time at home and were nesting more than ever, that they found your products and that things were good. Tell me what it was like sustaining and trying to grow your business through the COVID years.
So demand during COVID was great. Through 2021 was really off the charts in terms of e-commerce demand and improving people's homes. I wish we had the mattress then. We didn't launch the mattress until September 2022. I really wish we had the mattress in 2020. But the mattress has been great. That was a missed opportunity. I think I would have launched it earlier had I known that a massive pandemic was coming in the pipeline. But for me, I think the hardest part of the pandemic was the supply shortages. We shut down our factories for 3 months. The complexities in the warehouse, keeping people safe, making sure that safety is the number one priority. We donated 20% of our sales for 30 days to Colorado emergency COVID relief. Ended up donating about 40 grand at that point in April 2020. That was really cool. We got a call from the governor's office making sure that we meant to hit submit on that donation. They were like, Comcast $50,000, like Sheets and Giggles like $40,000. Like what?
Cynical planet, isn't it?
Yeah, it was cool though. That was the pandemic for me was a really transformative time personally. I met my fiance during that summer, turned 30 during that summer. Had a lot of ups and downs and, hired some good people. Overall, I really loved kind of the way that my life transitioned during that year, even though it was a very challenging year in general. So I look back on 2020 with kind of like bittersweet memories. Obviously, for a lot of people, it was an incredibly challenging time. So I feel somewhat guilty about kind of some of the things that I accomplished that year. But overall, I would say it was a positive for the e-commerce space in general. And although the supply shortage, I mean, the freight, the supply, the logistics was an absolute nightmare. I remember I got a phone call one day during holiday 2020, and it was one of my freight partners, ocean freight partners, and he said, "Hey, I couldn't get into the port of I think it was Savannah. Couldn't get into the port of Savannah. Waited for a couple weeks, had to turn back. It was like a voicemail I got. He's like, we dropped off your stuff in Freeport. So go figure out." I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Freeport,
not
like I was like, yeah. So I had to get a couple containers from the Bahamas in the middle of the holidays, like that. There was stuff like that was absolutely, you'll never forget the insanity.
Well, hey, I lived in LA during the height of the pandemic, and it was visual for us. Anytime you were near the coast, you looked at 100 cargo ships lined up as far as the eye could see.
Yeah.
My brain was always, okay, if those are durable goods, that's fantastic. What about all the perishable things that get shipped around the world, right? So
it really I mean, I learned a lot from that year. I think that America hopefully learned something. I feel like I always weep a little bit inside when I think about how much we could have changed about our society versus how much we actually did, which is not very much. But I think that there were a lot of lessons learned in terms of supply chain. I mean, we immediately moved to have multiple products made locally in America. So we make our pillows in Denver, then we make our mattresses in Phoenix. And then with our mattress protectors and our crib sheets, we make them in Spain. So we've now diversified our supply chain a little bit more from having one or two failure points, and also making sure that we always have local supply as well for at least some of our product lines.
Hey, you can't dictate reality. You can only, respond the way you have to, right? We got to be agile. COVID was a wake-up call for a lot of people that thought that in a linear path, right? But
Yeah.
control is an illusion. So we got to do whatever we got to do at a given time. I would say you don't have to feel guilty for finding a path to happiness and success during trying times. Yeah, you can feel empathy for other people, but you forded quite a stream. So not to sound like Father Time or anything.
No, I think that hard times are when you find your path to happiness or sustained contentment. Like I'm a very extroverted person. Like I love going out. I love seeing people. I love shaking hands, high fives, watching football, going to happy hours, going to yoga, whatever. And in the beginning of the pandemic, I went through a pretty bad breakup with an ex that I was seeing at the time, and I remember being so upset that I couldn't go see a friend. I couldn't go to yoga. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't get a beer. I couldn't do any. I just had to sit in my 800 square foot apartment, like just with myself. And I don't like going on social media all hours of the day. So like, I wasn't just trying to like lose myself in TikTok or whatever. So that really taught me how to be more comfortable being introverted, being alone, being inside, being saying no to things, passing on things. And I used to say that like a night in was like a wasted night. And now I think the exact opposite. Now I'm very protective of my personal time, and I practice saying no a lot more versus I used to say yes to everything, and now it's a little more selective.
No is an important word that a lot of people refuse to allow into their vocabulary, but it's important. And the older you get, your priorities change.
Also that, you get more tired as you get older.
Oh, you've cracked through 30, right? You're middle-aged now.
Tired. Yeah, I'm tired old man.
Well, hey, well, I'm going to ask you a question about when you're older. Look down the road about a year. What are some things you'd like to be celebrating personally and professionally?
Well, I get married in April, so that's a big one that I'm looking forward to.
Congratulations.
Top line. Thank you. So I'd like to say that I'm married. If I'm not, then I'll probably be in trouble. I would like to. So we're profitable this year, which is great. And I'd like to be a lot more profitable next year. So really focusing on improving our margins. So that's a big professional goal. And thinking about one or two more. I'd like to be in better shape. I think that like one of the things that I forgot about with the pandemic is when I say no to things, like it started to slowly creep back into my life where it's like, another happy hour, another cocktail dinner, like another late night working and get fast food or something like that. And it started to creep back into that normalcy of the pre-pandemic kind of working cadence. And so I think that like being getting more in line with like the way I have been the last couple of years will be better for me. I always feel a lot better when I'm physically better. And trying to think of one or two more just for my own sake. I'm like, what else do I want to do in the next year? And then I'd like to work from the river more. I told you, I think before we hopped on, I started working from the river here and there, which is I literally live next to a place called Clear Creek in Denver. And some days I just walk over there with my laptop and I sit in the water and I work in the sun with my laptop on the rocks. And I think that the remote work can drain on you a little bit. So getting out in nature and feeling that sun on your face and that vitamin D and that cold water has been really, really helpful for me avoiding burnout this summer and just continuing to stay sharp, stay fresh.
Colin, you're on an admirable path. It's nice to know that somebody at the top of a corporate food chain has the sort of energy that you do, and that you're doing things for the planet and people at that level. So I applaud you.
Hey man, that's all life's about is trying to help people, right? I mean, that's all it is. So just helping other people, being great. I'm very grateful for any help that I can give to other people. That's something that's become a bit of a mantra of mine, is like, you have to be grateful for the help that you can provide.
Hey, if more people felt that way, the earth would rotate a little smoother, don't you think?
Yeah, a lot smoother. Yeah.
Please tell us, what's your URL? Where can people find Sheets and Giggles, and what social media outlets are you using these days as well?
So the URL is just sheetsgiggles.com. So there's no and in the URL. So sheetsgiggles.com. They can use code. I'll make it. Let's see, WriteForMe for a discount if they like. So I'll get that discount code live.
There you go.
Our social handles are at Sheets Giggles, so just like the URL, just at Sheets Giggles everywhere. And my personal handles, Colin D McIntosh on everything. D for Douglas, like my dad. So
Colin McIntosh of Sheets and Giggles. A distinct pleasure to have you with us on Business Ninjas today. All the best to you and yours, and congratulations on your pending nuptials and continued success at Sheets and Giggles. Appreciate what you do.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you, man. This is a fun interview.
Be well.